The decision to open the tomb was absolutely, unequivocally a group decision.
Hidden voids and mysterious structures are showing up on digital screens as experts scan the most sensitive ground in the world.
The Temple Mount in Jerusalem has never been excavated, but an illegal construction project 20 years ago opened the door to some major discoveries.
The Temple Mount is finally giving up its ghosts, but the data is more terrifying than anyone expected. We are talking about massive halls and staircases that lead deep into the earth with no visible entrance from the outside. Nobody expected this to happen, but the technology does not lie. What most people do not realize is that we might be looking at the original foundations of a lost civilization. You will not believe what is waiting down there. Radar images expose massive hidden chambers. Modern technology is finally reaching into places where humans have not stepped for thousands of years. For starters, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is hands down the most protected and controversial piece of land on the planet. For a long time, the only way to know what was under the stone was to look at old maps from the 1800s. But those maps were limited by what explorers could find with a torch and a piece of string. Today, we have tools that can see through solid limestone without moving a single pebble. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, works by sending radio waves into the earth. These waves bounce back when they hit something different like a wall or a hollow space. Recently, teams have been using these tools around the perimeter, and the results are putting it lightly when we say they are world-changing. The crazy part is that the scans are showing massive voids that are 40 feet wide and perfectly rectangular. See, natural caves do not have 90-degree corners and flat ceilings. This is a key detail because it means someone carved these spaces out of the mountain with incredible precision. Scientists are looking at these digital maps and seeing what looks like a subterranean city. Everyone is obsessed with the buildings on top, like the Dome of the Rock or the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But what most people do not realize is that the platform itself is like a giant stone box holding a secret inside. The radar pulses have detected what appear to be sealed staircases that go nowhere. They just stop against solid rock as if they were walled off in a hurry. So here's the deal. These voids are located directly beneath the area where the first and second temples once stood. Many are not seeing the truth here because they think it is just old rubble. But the radar shows that these rooms are empty and intact. They are not filled with dirt or fallen stones. They are air-filled pockets that have been sealed for a very long time. Basically, the GPR is revealing a layout that does not match the Roman or Ottoman history we are taught in school. There are still many rumors in the air, but what many can confirm is that the geometry of these rooms is too perfect. It suggests a level of engineering that belongs to a different era. The data shows tunnels that are 6 feet high and run for hundreds of feet in straight lines. They branch off into smaller chambers that look like offices or storage rooms. But here is the catch. There is no known entrance to these specific chambers on any modern map. They are completely isolated inside the bedrock of the mountain. One of the most overlooked aspects of this research is how the radar waves behave when they hit certain spots. In some areas, the signal gets scrambled as if there is something metallic or high density blocking the view. Nobody expected this to happen, but the scanners are hitting a wall that they cannot see through. It makes you wonder what kind of material could stop a modern radar pulse from penetrating further. The deeper the scientists look, the more they find that the ground beneath the temple is like a honeycomb. There are layers upon layers of history stacked on top of each other. But the lowest layer is the one that is causing the nightmare fuel for historians. It is the layer that looks like it was cut with a laser rather than a chisel. A lot of people are confused about how ancient workers could move thousands of tons of rock to create these voids without leaving any signs on the surface. And get this, some of the voids are located so deep that they are actually below the water level of the surrounding area. This means they had to be waterproofed or engineered to stay dry. The precision is just not something we see in standard ancient construction. It feels more like we are looking at a machine or a giant bunker than a simple basement for a temple. But what the screens showed next was even more impossible. Ancient artifacts confirm biblical power players. To understand why these radar scans are so shocking, we have to look at what happened in 1999. This was a year of a massive archaeological disaster that almost nobody talks about. During some construction work, about 9,000 tons of soil were removed from the Temple Mount without any scientists watching. This dirt was treated like trash and dumped into the Kidron Valley as if it had no value. But here is the deal. That soil was packed with the history of 3,000 years. For starters, a group of researchers decided they could not let that history sit in a garbage pile. They started the Temple Mount Sifting Project to look through every single bucket of that dirt. What they found is hands down the best evidence we have for what was happening in the temple during the times of the Bible. They found tiny clay seals called bullae that were used to lock important letters. One of these seals had the name Galyahu, son of Immer, on it. And this is a key detail because the Immer family is mentioned in the Bible as priests who worked in the temple. The crazy part is that these tiny pieces of clay survived being dug up by bulldozers and dumped in a valley. They prove that the stories we read in ancient texts are based on real people who walked the halls of the temple. Many are not seeing the truth here, though. People think the Sifting Project was just about finding coins and arrowheads, but it was actually about proving that the temple was a center of massive administrative power. They found thousands of pieces of expensive floor tiles from the Second Temple. These tiles were made of colored stone from all over the Roman Empire. When you put them together, they form patterns that are so complex they make modern floors look simple. See, the temple was not just a place of prayer. It was a place of incredible wealth and beauty that used the best technology of its time. But here is the catch. While the Sifting Project found the small stuff, the radar is finding the big stuff. The artifacts confirm that the people were there, but the voids under the mount suggest they were hiding something much bigger. A lot of people are confused about why the soil was dumped in the first place. Some say it was an accident, but others think it was an attempt to hide the truth of what lies beneath. What most people do not realize is that the Sifting Project found arrowheads from the Babylonian siege, and even the Roman destruction. They found evidence of a massive fire that was so hot it melted stone. This confirms that the temple did not just fall apart. It was destroyed in a terrifying event that left the ground scarred for thousands of years. And get this. The Sifting Project has found over 500,000 artifacts so far.
Altogether, in these 14 years of sifting, we have had over 500,000 finds. The vast majority of it is, of course, pottery, but pottery is datable.
Each one is a piece of a puzzle that fits into the voids the radar is seeing. For example, they found weights for scales that were used to measure gold and silver. This tells us that the chambers under the mount were likely used to store the treasures of the nation. It is not that simple, though, because the treasure was not just money. Many believe the most sacred objects were kept in the deepest rooms. One of the most overlooked aspects is that the sifting has recovered items from the time of King Solomon. This goes back nearly 3,000 years. If the small items survived in the dirt, imagine what is still sitting in those sealed rooms that the radar just found. The mystery is only getting deeper as we connect the tiny seals to the massive stone chambers. One small seal changed everything we thought about the temple. Holy of Holies hides ancient engineering. There is a theory that has been floating around for a long time, and the new radar scans are making it look more plausible every day. Everyone is obsessed with the idea of the Ark of the Covenant being a religious box. But what if it was actually a piece of ancient technology? See, the description of the Ark in the Bible is very specific. It was a wooden box covered in gold on both the inside and the outside. In science, this is exactly how you build a capacitor, which is a device that stores electricity. This is a key detail because the Ark was said to be dangerous to touch. It could strike people down with a flash of light. So, here is the deal. If the Ark was a power source, it would need a specific place to sit. The Holy of Holies was the innermost room of the temple, and the radar scans show that the area beneath where it once stood is not just solid rock. It is a highly engineered chamber. Basically, the crazy part is that the temple was built with a lot of gold and copper. Some researchers think the whole building acted like a giant energy grid. And get this. The stones used in the foundation are massive. Some weigh over 500 tons. They are fitted together so tightly that you cannot even slide a piece of paper between them. This is not just for looks, it's for resonance. Many are not seeing the truth here. But the temple might have been designed to vibrate at a certain frequency. The radar is showing that the voids beneath the temple are shaped in a way that would amplify sound or energy. It is not that simple, though, because we are talking about technology from 3,000 years ago that we do not fully understand today. Nobody expected this to happen, but some experts are comparing the layout of the temple to a modern circuit board. The way the tunnels connect the different chambers looks like it was designed to move something through the mountain. Whether that was water or something more mysterious, we do not know. But here is the catch. The radar shows that the chamber directly under the Holy of Holies is lined with a different kind of stone than the rest of the mountain. It looks like it was meant to insulate the room. What most people do not realize is that the Ark was kept in a room that was a perfect cube. In geometry, a cube is the most stable and resonant shape. One of the most overlooked aspects is that the high priest had to wear a special breastplate with 12 stones and a rope around his ankle when he entered this room. This sounds less like a religious ritual and more like a safety protocol for someone working with high voltage. The radar scans are giving us a look at the engine room of the temple. A lot of people are confused about why an ancient civilization would need this kind of power, but hands down, the evidence of advanced engineering is there. The straight lines, the insulated chambers, and the massive stones all point to something beyond just a house of worship. There are still many rumors in the air about the Ark being hidden in one of these secret voids to keep it safe from invaders. If the radar is right, there is a room down there that has been perfectly preserved, and it might still hold the objects that once powered the entire city. It is putting it lightly to say that finding an ancient energy source would change our entire understanding of human history. The box was not just for gold, it was a weapon. Forbidden Labyrinth lies under dome. In the 1800s, a British explorer named Charles Warren went down into the dark spaces beneath Jerusalem. He found a vertical tunnel that is now called Warren's Shaft. For a long time, everyone thought this was just a way for people to get water from the Gihon Spring during a siege. But the new radar scans show that Warren only saw a tiny fraction of what is actually down there. The crazy part is that the shaft leads to a whole network of corridors that Warren never reached. These tunnels are not just rough holes in the ground. They are smooth and paved with stone. See, the radar shows that these paths lead directly into the heart of the Temple Mount. So, here's the deal. This is a forbidden labyrinth that has been off limits to the public for over 1,000 years. One of the most overlooked aspects is that some of these tunnels are huge. We are talking about spaces that are 15 feet high and wide enough to drive a small car through. But here's the catch. Most of them are blocked by massive stone slabs or filled with ancient debris. Nobody expected this to happen. But the GPR has detected what looks like a grand staircase buried under hundreds of feet of dirt and rock. This staircase does not lead to any known building. It seems to go deeper into the mountain, toward a massive void that is shaped like a dome. This is a key detail because it suggests there is a second temple, or a secret archive hidden inside the rock itself. A lot of people are confused about why no one has explored this yet. But the truth is that the area is a political powder keg. One wrong move and the whole region could explode. Many are not seeing the truth here, but the tunnels were likely used for more than just moving water. Some of them have small niches in the walls that look like they held lamps or scrolls. Basically, this was a place where people lived or worked in secret. And get this. The radar shows that some of the tunnels are actually air shafts that go all the way to the surface but are hidden by modern buildings. This means the people who built this labyrinth knew exactly how to keep the air fresh hundreds of feet down. It is not that simple, though, because the engineering required to do this 3,000 years ago is staggering. The radar images show that the tunnels are perfectly level, which is hard to do even today with modern lasers. There are still many rumors in the air about what is at the end of these tunnels. Some say it is the lost library of the temple, filled with gold scrolls and ancient knowledge. Others think it is a series of tombs for the kings of old, but the radar is showing something even more strange. It shows a large circular room that is isolated from the rest of the network. It has no doors and no windows. It is just a bubble of air inside the mountain. Hands down, this is the most mysterious find of the entire scan. It sits directly under the most sacred spot on the platform. It is putting it lightly to say that this room is the ultimate prize for any historian. What most people do not realize is that we are closer than ever to seeing what is inside, thanks to these digital X-rays. These rooms were not made for men. but for something else. Jerusalem underworld changes everything today. Now we have to talk about the reality of the situation on the ground. Everyone is obsessed with the science, but the politics are what really matter here. The Temple Mount is managed by a group called the Waqf, and they are very strict about who gets to scan the ground. This is a key detail because any discovery could change the religious balance of the entire world. If a Jewish temple is found under an Islamic mosque, it causes a massive problem. This is why a lot of the data from the radar scans is kept quiet. But here is the deal. The truth is starting to leak out. Scientists from major universities are seeing the same voids and the same geometric shapes. Nobody expected this to happen, but the technology is becoming so good that you can scan the ground from a distance or even from space using satellites. The standard ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, used to be a bulky operation that required you to roll a device directly over the surface. That is why the Waqf could stop it so easily. If they saw you with the equipment, the party was over. But we have moved past that. We are now using synthetic aperture radar and muon tomography. Muons are subatomic particles that rain down from the atmosphere and pass through almost everything, but they get deflected by dense materials like stone and metal. By placing sensors around the base of the mountain, researchers are essentially taking an X-ray of the entire plateau without ever stepping foot on the forbidden sections of the plaza. What they are finding is nightmare fuel for anyone trying to maintain the current status quo. We aren't just seeing natural caves or simple drainage ditches. We are looking at right-angled architecture, massive subterranean halls, and silos that appear to be lined with conductive materials. Basically, the crazy part is that we are looking at a countdown. We know there are rooms down there. We know there are tunnels and possibly the greatest treasures in history, but we cannot go get them. It is not that simple though, because as the radar gets better, we can see more detail. We can start to see what is inside the boxes and what is written on the walls. One of the most overlooked aspects is that this information could unite the world or tear it apart. If we find proof of a shared history that belongs to everyone, it could bring peace. But if it is used as a weapon to claim land, it could lead to the end of the city. So, here's the deal. Are we ready for the truth? Many are not seeing the truth here because they are blinded by their own beliefs. They want the archaeology to confirm their Sunday school lessons, but the data suggests something much more complex and, frankly, much weirder. The radar scans are nightmare fuel for historians because they prove that our history books are incomplete. We have missed a huge part of the story. There are still many rumors in the air about secret excavations happening at night, but what many can confirm is that the pressure to open these voids is growing. And get this, the technology to enter these rooms without digging is almost here. We can use tiny robots or fiber optic cameras to see inside. See, the secrets of the Temple Mount are not going to stay secret forever. The crazy part is that we might be the first generation in 3,000 years to see what King Solomon or the high priests saw. But it goes deeper than just golden scrolls. Some of the more fringe theories coming out of the deep scan data suggest that the Temple Mount isn't just a religious site, but a massive geological machine. Think about the sheer amount of copper Solomon used. If you look at the biblical descriptions, the volume of metal is staggering. Some engineers have looked at the layout, the massive bronze pillars, the molten sea reservoir, and the specific crystalline structure of the limestone bedrock, and they see a massive harmonic resonator. There is a theory that the temple was designed to utilize the natural electromagnetic frequencies of the Earth. The voids we are seeing on the radar might not be rooms for people, but chambers for sound or energy. This is why the scans show such perfect geometric precision. Nature doesn't make perfect 90-degree angles in solid bedrock hundreds of feet down. Someone carved these spaces to manipulate something we don't fully understand yet. What most people do not realize is that the temple was always meant to be a mystery. It was built to protect something so powerful that it had to be hidden under a mountain of rock. Hands down, this is the most important site on Earth for a reason. The radar has given us the map, and now we just need the courage to follow it. It is putting it lightly to say that the world will never be the same once those rooms are opened. A lot of people is confused about why we are waiting, but the catch is that we only get one chance to do this right. The future of history is literally sitting beneath the feet of the people in Jerusalem, waiting for the light to finally hit it. And then there is the question of the Well of Souls. Everyone thinks they know where it is, located under the dome of the rock. But the new scans suggest that the actual hollow space is much deeper and offset by several dozen meters. This implies that the current structures are essentially decoys, or built on top of the wrong axis. If the true Holy of Holies is located in a void that hasn't been touched since the Babylonian siege, we are talking about a time capsule that contains the genetic or technological blueprint of an entire civilization. There are rumors of black site archaeology happening in the tunnels near the Western Wall, where teams are using liquid nitrogen to freeze the soil so they can dig without causing the structures above to collapse. They are racing against the clock because they know the satellite data is becoming public domain. Once a civilian company like Maxar or a university in Japan releases a high-resolution subsurface map, or the secret is out, the political implications are a total mess. Imagine if the scans reveal that the original temple wasn't just a Jewish structure, but something that predates the known Semitic tribes. Some theories suggest the foundation stone, the Ibn Hashatiya, is actually a piece of ancient technology or a meteorite that exhibits strange gravitational properties. That sounds insane until you look at the seismic data. The area around the Temple Mount has a different vibration signature than the rest of the Judean hills. It's as if the mountain is hollowed out in a way that creates a localized frequency shield. If we find out the Ark was actually a power source, a theory that has been floating around for decades, the religious narrative doesn't just change, it evaporates. We move from the realm of faith into the realm of advanced physics. The Waqf knows this. The Israeli government knows this. Even the Vatican has its eyes on these scans. There is a reason why the most powerful organizations on the planet are obsessed with a few acres of dusty rock. It is because whoever controls the narrative of what is in those voids controls the future of human belief. We are talking about the potential discovery of the Library of Stones, an archive of knowledge etched into the walls, using a method that only becomes visible under specific light spectrums. The technology we are using to look through the ground is the same technology that will eventually prove that we have been lied to about the timeline of human development. The countdown isn't just about the physical opening of the rooms. It's about the psychological breaking point of the public. How much can we see before we are forced to act? The tiny robots are already being tested in the drain tunnels of the City of David. They are small enough to slip through a crack in the masonry and send back 8K video of rooms that have been dark for millennia. What happens when the first image of a golden lampstand or a chest wrapped in lead is leaked to the internet? You can't put that ghost back in the bottle. The pressure to reclaim or protect these items will start a conflict that makes current geopolitics look like a playground dispute. So here's the deal. After seeing all this evidence, do you think we should open the secret chambers or keep them sealed forever? Could the truth be more dangerous than the mystery itself? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest secrets.